Namaste, beautiful souls, beautiful friends. So hamstrings. So many people have tight hamstrings. And here's just a note as well. If you are tall, and I'm talking like, 6 foot, whatever, or you have, long legs, if you look at people and see the different torso to leg length, like I had a friend who was really tall, but she had a short torso and really long legs. So you've got to take all those things into account. And tall men especially because men tend to naturally carry more muscle. So men who are, taller than 5 foot, 6, 7, tend to have tighter hamstrings. And the problem is, the more we try and force something, it's like if someone pushes you, your immediate reaction is to push back, right? So we want to create space and to try and lengthen the whole body. And here's the other thing as well. Everything's interlinked. So we want to imagine stretching the whole of the back of the body, not just this bit. We tend to just focus on like the back of the leg here. We forget that hamstrings come right up to the butt, and we forget there are muscles from the legs up into the back. And so what we're doing with our pelvis, again, is really so important. And if you have tight hamstrings, you have a tight back and vice versa. So we want to try and take the less is more approach. And we're going to use the props, a chair and a belt. If you haven't got a yoga belt, your dressing gown thing or any kind of belt is absolutely perfect. And not aiming for perfection. We get so fixated on whether we can touch our toes or whatever. How about finding a sense of ease, which doesn't mean it's easy, as in, can't feel it, but a sense of ease in that we're breathing with ease, we're not gritting our teeth and grimacing and swearing and all that kind of stuff. We're aiming to find a sense of ease, effortless effort. So we are going to take a moment to check in. So feet underneath the hips, spread out your toes, relax your arms, soften or close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, you can always just focus on the tip of your nose. The idea is that we just take our awareness inwards. We are so busy, our minds are so busy, so scattered, and there's 100 things in here I could pay attention to. I could pay attention to the cobwebs that I forget about until I'm here. I could think about something else I need to make a note of and all that kind of stuff. There's so many distractions. By closing our eyes, we're taking away a lot of those distractions, and we almost immediately become more aware of our body, of our being. But if you don't want to close your eyes completely, then just focus on the tip of the nose and let everything else blur out. And just be fully present, fully aware. So we want to be really mindful, and that means accepting whatever is right now, even if we're not feeling as great or as flexible or as mobile as we would perhaps like. A lot of the times it's ego. There's a lot of poses I'd look at people doing, I wish I could do that. And I think, well, why do I wish I could do it? And it's only really because it looks impressive, And a lot of, the so-called yoga inspiration, it's just really kind of gymnastics. The ability to feel at ease, the ability to sit in a cross-legged position with a tall spine, that is our ultimate aim. And a lot of people can't do that because of tight hamstrings. The other thing is, when we spend a lot of time sitting, the fronts of the thighs are tight. So if you imagine tight hamstrings, tight back, weak core, tight hips, no wonder we're kind of like bent all out of shape, literally, because things are tight where we don't want it to be tight, things are weak where we don't want it to be weak. So just check in. It's not about criticizing yourself, it's not about judging yourself, it's just about working in balance. So as I said earlier, we don't fixate on one thing, we tend to fixate on reaching our toes, but not realize that we're bringing tension into our shoulders. So we want to focus on the whole thing. So I want you to just soften or close your eyes, or to be aware of your feet to start with. So you may find you're moving slightly. You might just be swaying a little bit, or you might naturally start to shift the weight. That's okay. Whatever happens, happens. See if you can be aware of all your toes and where the weight is on your feet. So I've got naturally flat feet, which means the weight would roll in. I've learned to automatically spread the weight out. But notice if there seems to be more weight on the inside or outside edge, because your foot conformation and how you walk will also have an effect on your back, on everything. Your foot, there are foundations. So we want to try and find a state of balance, and that starts from your feet. So we want to try and find equal weight, big toe, little toe, inner, outer heel. And that may not come to begin with, that's okay. Practice makes progress. So see if you can gently press into your big toe, into your little toe, into your inner and outer heel. Not so much you're creating tension, but just so you can feel. I always imagine like 4 little suction pads on all 4 corners of my feet. And notice how that feels on your ankles and your knees. So when we're out of balance or the weight's rolling in, that puts pressure on our ankles and knees. And it doesn't necessarily painful, so we don't notice. It's only over time that the damage can occur. But notice how it feels on your knees. Notice how it feels if you deliberately roll the weight in and then come back again. Notice how it feels better with the weight distributed. So you want to feel like, if you imagine a table, if the legs were at a funny angle, they weren't supported properly, the table would be wobbly, right? So you want to have firm foundations, and then you want to feel like your pelvis is sitting nicely on top of at the top of your thighs. So you want to feel like your pelvis is level, not twisted. If your hips were headlights, they'd be pointing straight forward. There's no twisting. So notice if it feels like there's any tension in your pelvis. Does it feel like there's, one side feels different to the other? Again, it's not about judgment, it's just about noticing. Keep breathing as you're doing that. So if there were headlights on your hips, would one be pointing slightly higher than the other? Again, just aware of this without necessarily trying to force a change just yet. You get a sense of your spine, not from your tailbone, right down there. Your tailbone, following it all the way up, following the curves of your spine. So you've probably all seen a picture of a spine, one of those hanging skeletons. So you've got an idea of kind of what it looks like. So imagine you're following it up in your imagination. Imagine you're following it up in your awareness from the little bones in your tailbone, right the way up to the base of your skull. And notice, does your spine feel lengthened or does it feel compressed? Does it feel like there's any space between the discs, or does it feel like it's all kind of cramped and whatever? Again, just simply noticing. How about your rib cage? Does your rib cage feel relaxed or does that feel tight? Does it feel like it can expand easily as you breathe? Or again, does it feel like it's kind of gripping? Are your lungs expanding freely with each breath? Does one side feel different to the other? So it's all about asking these questions without making anything right or wrong, good or bad, positive, negative. It just is. And we're all out of balance on different days. We hold tension, we don't notice we're doing it. So this is why it's so important to check in. So noticing your shoulders. Do you feel like you're tensing your shoulders? Because when we start tensing and we live with chronic stress, we don't notice it. It becomes our normal. So notice, do your shoulders feel relaxed? Does one shoulder feel higher than the other? Do they feel like they're drooping? Do you feel like you're kind of slouching, or do you feel like you're open? Does your heart space feel open, or does it feel closed? When we feel a bit low in mood, we tend to kind of close our heart space, tend to slouch a little bit to try and protect our heart space. Does your head feel like it's sitting on top of the spine, or is there any tension in your neck or jaw? Does it feel like your head is level? Or are you kind of like tilting to one side or the other? Does it feel like it's sitting very nicely on top of your spine? Does it feel like you could stand here quite easily for like 10-15 minutes without any aches or pain? We're not going to, by the way, but does it feel like that's how you want to feel? In a standing position, when we're in correct posture, we should feel like we could stand here if we had to, for even like half an hour without any tension or discomfort. Someone knocking at the door. I do hope they leave the parcel. Usually they do. Hopefully they will. And then taking your attention to your breathing. Nice deep breaths. Expanding the belly, expanding the ribs. A subtle lift in your chest and shoulders as you breathe. Feeling your shoulders relax as you breathe out. And one more nice deep breath in. And let it go. And just gently opening your eyes. So we're just going to do a couple little warm-up exercises to get the blood circulating, the blood flowing. So we're just going to take a breath in, soften the knees. As you breathe out, lift opposite arm and leg. Inhale down, exhale the other side. Breathing in and out, in and out. So quite a nice dynamic move. So really pull the knee up towards the chest because we want to get the blood flowing, we get a bit of heat in the body. As always, if you need to go slower, just go a little bit slower. Four, three, two, and one. And then just circling, alternate knees. Again, you can go a little bit slower if you need to. Just making a bit of space around your hips. Three, two, one. Then take the weight onto one foot and imagine trying to touch the opposite toe. Don't worry if you can't actually touch it. We are just warming up, lengthening the back of the body. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then try and take that foot across. So try and plant the foot down. If you can, have the toes together, little toes together. Squeeze the legs together. Now lift the belly button in as you breathe out. Slide your hands down your legs. Come as far as you can. Lift your belly, relax your shoulders, relax your neck. Squeeze those legs together. So it's a good stretch for the sciatic nerve. So you might be higher up, you might be here, that's okay. Just draw your belly button in to protect your spine. Lengthening from tailbone to crown. Then release the arms and start to roll up, squeezing those legs. Roll up through the spine, taking your time. Coming all the way up, back up to standing. Undo the feet. Also, same thing on the other side. So again, don't worry if you can't actually touch the foot. Doesn't matter, we're just literally loosening up the hamstrings. 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, take that foot across. Scoop the belly button in, breathe in as you breathe out. Slide your hands down the legs. Yeah, coming forward. Squeeze those legs together. Try and press into all 4 corners of your feet. Nice full deep breaths in. And out. Yeah, it's quite a strong stretch. And make sure you keep the breath flowing. Then release the arms and roll up to standing. Take your time, don't rush. Keep squeezing the legs, keep the tummy in to help protect your spine. And what I said earlier about having a weak core, tight back of the body, weak core, ooh, like a bowstring. Release that foot. Then take the weight onto one foot, peel the other foot off, circle that foot out. You can use the chair if you need to, be a little bit wobbly. Just use the chair around the other way. And take that foot back behind you. Make sure the feet are at least hip width apart. Shoulders over your hips. Take a breath in, press into the toes. As you breathe out, press that heel towards the floor. So you're almost like a little mini warrior 1. Don't worry if it doesn't actually touch the floor. Just feel the stretch in the back of the leg. Inhale, lift onto the ball of the foot. Stretch out the toes. Exhale, press that heel down towards the floor. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, press. This time, inhale, lift onto the ball of the foot. Bend the back knee, drop down to a lunge. Tuck the tailbone under. Squeeze the butt. Feel the stretch in the front of the thigh. Inhale up. Exhale, press. Hear my ankle crack. Heel towards the floor. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend and drop. Squeeze the butt. Inhale up. Exhale, press through the heel. Once more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend. Again, tucking the tailbone under, the tiny pulses. 8, 7, 6. Shoulders relax. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, exhale, press through that heel. And then bring the foot back in. Soften the knees, shift the weight onto the other foot. Circle that foot out. And round the other way. Then step that foot back. And feel the ball of the foot. So you're stretching out the toes. Inhale, exhale, press through that heel. Again, make sure the feet aren't too narrow. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press. So again, even if the heel doesn't touch the floor, you're still stretching out the foot. So you want to imagine stretching from the sole of the foot all the way up to the back of the body, up to the base of the skull. Whole of the back of the body, not just the leg. So inhale, lift. Bend the back knee again. Tuck the tailbone under. Squeeze the butt, push it forward. Feel the stretch here. Inhale up. Exhale, press the heel down. Inhale up. Exhale, drop. Breathe in and out. In and out. Stay here, little tiny pulses. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, exhale, stretch through that heel and release. Bring the feet, come underneath the hips. Soften the knees. Bring your hands to your waist. And get a sense of your hip bones. And as you inhale, tilt the pelvis forward as if you're pointing your hip bones towards the floor. As you exhale, tuck the pelvis under. So imagine a clock face. As you inhale, pointing your tailbone at 6 o'clock. As you exhale, tucking under, pointing at 12 o'clock. But I want you to also notice, I've got a slight bend in my knees, I want you to notice sensations in your legs. So as you lift the tailbone, as you tilt the pelvis forward, you just start to feel a lengthening of your hamstrings. Just a very subtle lengthening from your sit bone down the back of that thigh. And quite often we end up trying to come forward with the tailbone tucked, and we want to try and find more of that lift. So we're lengthening from the back of the thigh. Keeping that movement in mind, bring the hands down, coming into like a cat flex. Starting up just with the lower body. Again, get an image of your spine, the mind's eye. So inhale, tuck under. Exhale, lift the tailbone up. Again, notice how, as when you lift the tailbone up, when you point the tailbone to 6 o'clock, you start to feel a bit of a stretch and lengthening the backs of the legs. Again, visualize your spine. We're going to gradually start to move up the spine. So we're mobilizing more of the spine. We're starting to move up into your waist. So stretching the muscles in the front and back of the spine, and moving up into your ribs. Inhale, exhale, round. So the movement comes from your tailbone all the way up to the base of your skull, starting to move up between your shoulder blades now. Inhale, draw your heart forward. Exhale, lift through the back of your heart. And as you arch up, start to draw your chin into your chest, stretching out the other way. So imagine doing 2 C shapes. Forward C shape, backward C shape. Stretching the back of the body, stretching the front of the body. So working in balance. Again, noticing how when you lift your tailbone, you're starting to lengthen the backs of the legs, the hamstrings. And just come to a inhale, lifting that tailbone. Keep the hands lightly on the thighs. Breathe in. As you breathe out, start to straighten the legs. So you're in a flat back position. So inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten. So what I'm doing is bending and straightening the legs. My upper body stays as it is. Bend, tuck the tailbone under, roll up. So we're going to use the chair, we're going to do a little assist. I want you to watch first. So we're going to use the chair to come into an Ardha Uttanasana, flat back position, but with the arms. Now in the flat back position, it's not about whether this is the flat back position. It's not about whether you can touch your toes, whatever. It's a two-way stretch. You want to stretch from the crown of your head to your tailbone, from your hip down to your heel. So you want to imagine aiming for a right angle. And we're going to come to the chair. So again, watch first. Don't go into it just yet. So your hands are going to be as wide as the chair. You're going to walk yourself back. So your feet are underneath your hips. You don't want the feet too far away. Don't want them too far forward. And you want to just maybe a little bit wide in the hips, especially if you're tight in the hamstrings. And we're going to try and bring our ears in alignment with the arms. So again, don't do it yet. Because so often I say don't do it yet and people start doing it. And now to start with, you might feel like you're rounded like that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do this several times. Okay, so watch. We're going to bend the knees deeply. This is deeply. This is not deeply. Deeply. You're going to lift the tailbone like we did the cat flex, like that. Then you're going to straighten the legs. And as you straighten the legs, really pull up the thigh muscles and kneecaps. And you can do that a couple of times. And you may notice that my upper body, my heart, starts to sink down towards the floor. That's not me pretending. That is actually happening. So each time I do this little assist, I'm lengthening the back of the body. And I'm making space for my upper body. So again, it's not about how far you go. It's about creating space in the body so breath can flow. It's no good being all the way down here if you're tight and tense. It's no good holding your toes if you're tight and tense. It's about finding space and where you can breathe. So hands chair width apart. Walk your feet back. Again, find that position. So your hips are over your ankles. So you don't want it too far back. You don't want it too far forward. And make sure the feet are pointing forward and they're kind of equal. So they haven't got like one foot turned out slightly or whatever. Again, spread out your toes and bring your ears in line with your arms. So it's like you look like this. That's the kind of thing you want to be. So normally you do a flat back position like this, but we're doing it with the arms. So you want to imagine bringing your head rather, in between your arms. And just notice how it feels to start with. Does your spine feel nice and stretched? Does your heart feel open? Or does it feel like there's tension? Again, it's not about being right or wrong, it's just about noticing. Draw your belly button in slightly to help protect your spine. Now, in-breath, bend your knees deeply. Notice how that releases the back. Bending the knees releases the back. Lift the tailbone, stick the bum out. So pointing your tailbone at 6 o'clock. So it feels kind of like hinky, but it's lengthening the backs of the legs. Then as you exhale, push the floor away. So rather than just slamming the knees shut, imagine straightening the legs, but really lifting the thigh muscles and the kneecaps. Really opening up the backs of the legs rather than just slamming the knees shut. And feeling that stretch from fingertips to sit bone. And do that a couple of times. You can hold for a breath in between each. So you inhale, bend the knees deeply. Lift your tailbone for that stretch, lengthening in the backs of the legs for the stretch in the spine. Then exhale, push the floor away. Open up the backs of the knees, relaxing the shoulders. Then feeling a stretch in your spine and your hamstring, where it's all interlinked. So stretching out your spine, we're stretching out the hamstrings and vice versa. So shoulder blades away from the ears. So that even if you don't straighten the legs completely, it doesn't matter. It's about opening up the backs of the knees. Then soften the knees, lift up. I'm going to come into a pyramid variation. So you're going to step your right foot forward. Now, again, have your feet hip width apart, both toes pointing forward. So you're not on a tightrope. And be close enough, you can adjust the chair, so you can rest your elbows, your forearms on the chair. And so we're going to imagine like doing a pyramid, a flat back position here. So we're going to inhale, bend that front knee a little bit, as if you're doing like a warrior one. Then exhale, push the floor away. And as you really push the floor away, again, rather than just slamming the knee shut, push into the floor. As you do that, pull that right thigh muscle up and into the hip socket. Pull that right hip back. So again, you're making space so that you can fold the upper body forward. Whereas if it's tight here and you try and come forward, it's going to be, it's going to feel tight. And the more you try and force yourself to the floor, it's not going to feel good. But whereas when you really lengthen, create space, you can stretch the whole body. We tend to get fixated on one little bit instead of focusing on the whole body. So inhale, bend that front knee. Exhale, push the floor away. Again, each time you push it away, pull up the thigh muscle and the kneecap. And inhale, bend the back knee a little bit. Sink the weight back. Exhale, push into that foot. And inhale, bend. Exhale, push into that foot. And whilst you're here, imagine tucking and tilting the pelvis a little bit, like a cat flex. So inhale, tuck under. Exhale, lift the tailbone. Inhale, tuck, so you're kind of rounding. Exhale, tilt for the stretch in the backs of the legs. Tuck and tilt. Take another breath in and out. And bend that knee, come up. And we're going to step back into your Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. So you might find you need to adjust the feet this time because you've created a bit more strength, length. So notice how it feels this time. Again, inhale, bend the knees. Exhale, lift the tailbone, open up the back cheeks. Exhale, straighten the legs. Press the thighs towards the wall behind you. You're going to feel your chest sinking down towards the floor. Getting a stretch in your spine and shoulders. Inhale, bend, look up, bring the left foot forward. Again, if you're too far away, you can always adjust the chair, move the chair, or adjust yourself. Sometimes it's easier to move the chair. So again, you want the elbows on the chair, feet hip width apart, toes point forward. So you get a wider base of support if you wish. So supporting the upper body, inhale, bend that front knee, really press into the back heel as you're doing that. Then exhale again, push the floor away. So each time you pull that thigh in, you should hopefully feel your upper body coming forward a little bit more. So rather than sort of being rounded like that, you feel like you've got a bit more space that you could come forward. So inhale, bend. Exhale, push and pull that hip towards you. Inhale, bend. Exhale, push the floor away. Then inhale, bend the back knee a little bit or a lot. Exhale, push that foot through the floor. Inhale, bend. Exhale, press. And imagine lengthening from your sit bones to the crown of your head. And bend the front knee, come up. And we're going to bring the feet all the way in. Then you're going to spin the chair around. Now again, if you've got really tight hamstrings, you can use a block or a cushion, because raising your hips slightly will help make a bit of space. So you're going to sit in front of the chair. Now, depending on your flexibility, you might have a bit further away. Then we want to hinge from the hips, just as we did in the flat back position, rather than bending forward like this. So grab your butt cheeks. So I've got a cushion. You can have a wedge cushion to raise your hips up a little bit. Grab your butt cheeks. So your pelvis is, as long as like you're doing that cat, you can do a little kind of tuck and tilt a little bit. Inhale, tuck under, tilt, tuck, and tilt. Noticing how it feels in the legs as you're doing that. Notice how when you tuck under, you can't move anyway. You immediately tighten at the back of the body. Whereas when you tilt the pelvis forward, you can feel as if you can move from your back, because we want to move from the tailbone rather than from the ribs. So we don't want to round over. So focus on keeping the back nice and flat. And you might find after you've done that a couple of times, you can move the feet a little bit wider. So that's stretching your hips and inner thighs. And to start with, just literally hinging forward and back. And notice if you're moving, like bending like that. Okay, keep adjusting the butt cheeks, or have, say, a wedge cushion so that your hips are slightly higher. And don't worry if it feels like you're not moving very far. Just focus on getting that movement of, notice how flat my back is, rather than like that. So as soon as you feel yourself rounding, then don't go any further. You can even take the hands behind you slightly to help you. But you can use your belt, take the hands behind you, and just practice hinging. So we get so fixated on there, getting there, we're, often fixated on reaching our toes as if that's the ultimate holy grail, when it really doesn't matter. There's no point, as I said earlier, no point reaching your toes if you're going to bring tension in. And when you feel like you are hinging from your hips and not from your back, then you can bring your elbows, again it's easy to move the chair, onto the chair, and rest your forehead on your hands. So again, we're stretching out the spine, not just stretching out the legs. We want to stretch out the whole of the back of the body. We want to lengthen the back of the body. So just staying here, just gently flexing the feet so they're not totally floppy. A little bit of energy, nice, full deep breath in. And full breath out. Each time you exhale, imagine relaxing your heart forward. So I can go a lot further forward, but I can still feel a good stretch here, because you're kind of relaxing into it rather than forcing into it. The more you try and force, the more the body will resist, and the more you'll create tension. And we want to do the opposite. We want to release tension, because if you're already tight, we don't want to create more tightness, right? We want to release it. But we get so fixated on, oh, that person can do this, that, and the other, and I can't. It's like, yeah, but their body type is totally different. They're shorter than you, they've got short, you know what I mean? Don't compare yourself. So nice, full, deep breaths in there. And all the way out. Two more nice deep breaths. You might notice again, feeling a bit more sense of ease, feeling your body releasing. Often we don't realise we're holding tension until it releases. And quite often, I'll see it in class, where all of a sudden I hear someone almost go, ah, and it's like their body's going, it's okay now, I can release now. And that's kind of what we want. It's that, just like us, if someone tries to force us to do something, we resist, don't we? We grumble and groan and I don't want to do it. Whereas, if we're offered the opportunity and just, given the space, then we're more likely to do something. The body's exactly the same. So it's about creating space, creating an opportunity, and saying you can if you want. You don't have to, it's okay. But you can if you want. We're more likely to do it. So treat your body like your best friend, not your enemy. And after your next exhale, this is the sort of pose you can literally hang here for ages, as long as you want. You can even pause the video and stay here a bit longer. You may end up moving the chair further forward, that's okay, but for now, we're going to ease ourselves up. We're going to bring the legs in, we're going to shake them out a little bit. And the last little exercise. People often look at this and go, what the hell? But trust me, try it. Ideally, you want a yoga belt for this, or a long belt. You're going to loop it. So you're going to create a loop You need to make sure that it's not going anywhere. So if you haven't got a proper yoga belt, tie a knot. It's finding the best place, and once you've found the best position for you, it's then relaxing into it. Try it and see. If you decide you don't like it after a few breaths, then you don't have to stay there. So what we're going to do, we're going to come down on the floor, and you're going to place the belt around the back of your head. I tend to have mine here. Again, it's all, different. And you're going to place one foot. So I've got the right foot in the belt to start with. And then you just find a point where you can relax. Now, at first, you might be tense because you feel like you can't relax. But after a while, you can let go. You can either keep that left leg bent, as mine is here, or you can let it stretch out. And the idea is literally to completely relax. And so you're holding yourself up. So there's no effort. Obviously, make sure your foot is in so you can, just test the waters and gradually start to relax. And it stretches the whole of the back of the body right up to the base of the skull. And I tell you, everyone who looks at this for the first time is like, oh my good God. But once they're in it and they've found a point where they can relax, it is hard to get them out of it. So play around with it, try and find that point where you can just relax. And you're holding yourself here. You're holding yourself here. You may move slightly, and that's okay. So you may sway a little bit. That's okay. Literally, we're coming into it in a restorative manner so that there's no muscular effort. So it's worth playing around with it to get the right place for you. And where might be right for you may be different for me. Again, you may prefer to have the other foot on the floor. And that's okay. Don't be afraid to try different things. Don't be afraid to kind of end up in a heap. You shouldn't hurt yourself. And try again. This is why it's important to make sure you've got the loop so it doesn't slip. So it is definitely, not that you've got far to fall, but you know what I mean. So it is definitely looped up. So if you're using a dressing gown cord or whatever, again, make sure it is tied up. Again, just nice, deep breaths, and just mentally say to yourself, I let go. I let go. Let go of any negative, self-depreciating thoughts, any toxic emotions, anything that drains you, that's no longer aligned with you. Just let it go. We often have this complex that, we had to follow our dreams, we shouldn't be happy, it's like, in that case, that means we're all meant to be miserable. We're all given life in order to be miserable and ill and unhappy, which just doesn't make sense at all. So let go of everything that doesn't bring you joy, that doesn't make you feel energized and uplifted, supported. Just breathe. And you can stay here a while longer, so you can press the pause and stay a while longer, or if not, then just gently switch over, hopping the other foot in. Take your time, don't just, make sure nothing has slipped or moved, make sure it feels okay on this side. So it might feel slightly different on this side. And again, just breathe into it. Nice, deep breaths. Really feel like you're nourishing yourself with the breath. So if you're breathing right to the sole of the feet, right to the tips of the toes, right to the tips of the fingers. Feeling your lungs and ribcage expanding on that in-breath. Relaxing on the out-breath. I let go. And that's partly what our winter solstice workshop retreat is about embracing stillness, embracing doing nothing, realizing that it's not actually doing nothing. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the body. Just like sleep, it's like to deny yourself rest is like to deny yourself sleep. It's like to feel guilty for sleeping, which is just crazy. But we are crazy sometimes, right? Us humans come up with the most ridiculous beliefs and whatever that we really need to let go of. I let go. Again, this is something you could stay in for literally as long as you like, and you'll start to feel your spine lengthening. And so you can press pause, or you can bend the other knee, gently release the belt, come down into a Shavasana, either with knees bent or legs straight, whatever works for you. And checking in, just simply noticing how you feel now. So if you're not ready yet, then carry on and press pause when you are ready. Noticing how you feel now compared to when you started. And just with curiosity. As I speak to so many people and they feel guilty, but even coming to a class sometimes, like, they feel like they should be working or this, that, and the other. And it's like, I know I say it loads of times, but the phone analogy is the best one because our smartphones nowadays do so much. I don't use it for certain things, but I don't have a credit card on there. I won't use it as much. But anyway, some people do. Have maps on there, an alarm clock, you can watch films, whatever. But if the battery dies or it's not charged, it's useless. It's a paperweight. And we need to charge ourselves. We need to keep ourselves charged. And there's a difference between like running on 50% battery all the time and being fully charged. And we need to do more than just eat and sleep in order to keep ourselves fully charged. And we need to let go of the nonsense stories that the guilt and absolute nonsense that we often hold on to. So if and when you're ready, if you're not ready, just stay where you are and continue in Shavasana. If you are ready, stretch out the arms and legs, move in whatever way feels good for you right now. And when you're ready, only when you're ready, bring yourself back up to sitting. Bringing your hands to your heart, heart to your hands. Taking a nice full deep breath in. Full breath out. Yeah, full breath in. And out. Let's do 3 arms to finish. You open your mouth as wide as you can. Halfway through, you start to close it, and then you bring your lips together, feeling the vibrations in your lips and nose. So a nice deep breath in. Namaste. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy, embody joy. Think of children, they're so joyful and playful. That's how we're meant to be. That is how we are meant to be. Mwah!